is episode 73, part 3 of Kenya's premier sports video podcast, the Three Quarters podcast. As usual, we'd like to remind you to jump onto the hashtag Road to Japan to support the Kenya Simbas as they are still looking to qualify for the Rugby World Cup in 2019 in Japan. I'm Dubima Duffield.
And I'm Nora Kamuya.
So we start off with what I think 75% of the people I know were talking about, and that is the UEFA Champions League final.
Yep.
So Real Madrid, Liverpool, 3-1
to Madrid.
to Madrid.
Yeah, the final was being played in Kiev, in Ukraine, and Real Madrid 3-1 coming out victors. Goals by Karim Benzema, and Gareth Bale for Real Madrid. Excellent, sensational goal. First goal by Gareth Bale. Then we had Sadio Mane scoring Liverpool's only goal. We had Mohamed Salah and Dani Carvajal unfortunately not being able to finish the game and leaving the game because of injury. Liverpool started with intent, with a lot of intent, that I can say. Jurgen Klopp's philosophy of football is something he calls gegenpress, where he basically close down the other team and leave them with little or no option to spread the ball. They did that very well, but in doing that, they forgot that Real Madrid are one of the most dangerous teams when it comes to counter-attacking football. And though that was not the reason why Real Madrid won in terms of the counter-attacking football, it did open up a couple of gaps for Liverpool. And what it did after those gaps opened up is that it exposed their goalkeeper, Luis Karius, unfortunately. So the first goal, Karim Benzema blunder, Gareth Bale excellent goal, and then Gareth Bale last goal, again blunder by Karius. So yes, I was rooting for Liverpool because I didn't want to see a Real Madrid dominance, but over the years I've grown up, I've been a Real Madrid supporter. Yeah. And I mean, they're coached by the person, to me, who has been the best football player that I've ever watched, Zinedine Zidane. So I have some attachment there. So Zinedine Zidane joining a group of only 3 coaches to have won 3 titles in terms of the Champions League. Bob Paisley of Liverpool and Carlo Ancelotti of AC Milan, and the last one with Real Madrid. He's won the last 3, 2016, 2017, 2018, and cements his place in terms of coaching. For the team in itself, Cristiano Ronaldo now has won 5. Yep. And you can only be impressed by this unit. The last time I saw a unit like this at Real Madrid was during the Galacticos era, the one that won the 9th Champions League in 2002. So this unit is very impressive. You like the football that they're playing. And it feels good. It feels good, definitely. Being somebody who grew up watching Real Madrid, it does feel very good. Yeah.
And just before we move on to our next topic, I was just looking at the stats and I'm thinking of how, possession is key, man.
It is.
66% possession for Madrid.
Yes.
And, that just worked for them. When you don't have the ball, there's not much you can do.
There's not much you can do. And all this, by the way, most of this was in the second half.
Yep.
So Madrid showing also they have superior mental strength to Liverpool. And I think Liverpool were just in a situation that they were not used to. Most of that team have not played in any form of final. Jurgen Klopp has got into the final with Borussia Dortmund in 2013, but the team, not really. And you could see that. And then you're playing up against guys who've been in the final 4 finals in the last 4 years. It's gonna be tough, man.
So now we talk about Arsenal.
Yes.
And there was all this, who's gonna be the manager? Oh, we think this guy, we think this guy. Now they have a manager.
Yes.
And that's Unai Emery.
Yes. Unai Emery has been appointed the Arsenal manager. He's a former Sevilla. He won the Europa Cup twice with Sevilla, and he's won the league title a couple of times with PSG. There's an article by a gentleman by the name of Marco Andrioli, who played under Unai Emery at Sevilla, and he said, and I quote,
funny enough, I actually read that same article.
He said, and I quote, "One great quality that Unai Emery has is that he's an extraordinary motivator. His speciality is in preparing for matches and speaking at great length to players." That's a problem we're having at Arsenal, and Arsene Wenger was more of a technical person. He did not need to motivate his players. The Thierry Henrys, the Patrick Vieira's, the Tony Adams, they motivated themselves. Arsene Wenger did not need to motivate anyone. And when the new bunch of players came in, we don't have those bullish. We don't have street fighters. We don't have the likes of Sanchez. Street fighters, the guys who are going to actually dig in and motivate themselves. We don't have any of those players anymore nowadays. So I think that's why Wenger was phased out. It was not because of his tactics. It was more because of his style of managing. So Unai Emery comes in, and he's very personal, and he's a great motivator, and he can, he's very methodical and meticulous in the way he coaches his players. I think he'll be able to get out that from his guys and the guys at Arsenal. And if he does that, then of course Arsenal will be able to produce the results that they should be producing. Because the truth and the fact of the matter is that in terms of personnel, Arsenal have a very good squad. It's just a matter of that these guys get to a point and their, motivation slumps in the season. So he should be a good fit at Arsenal. But again, I caution the Arsenal fans that, look, do not be too quick to think that Unai Emery's appointment is guaranteed success. It's going to take some time. He has to put in his systems. He's working in a new club. So we wait and see. But from what we've seen before, it can only be good for us now moving forward.
I can completely relate to the article. I mean, even when I was actively playing sports, I remember I would connect more with a coach who is sort of personally invested. Someone who will have a talk with you and be like, okay, so this is where I want you to work on this and I want you to do this. You feel like you're not only playing for yourself, you also don't want to disappoint them. It's a thing that really works. I mean, it's just one of those psychological things.
It depends. It depends on what kind of player you are.
Of course.
There are guys who motivate themselves. I know when I played sports, I didn't need a coach.
Wow.
No, I'm not saying I did. I'm just saying I motivated myself. I didn't need a coach to motivate.
Understand.
So it depends. But the current crop of Arsenal players, they need a motivator.
They need the motivation.
So Unai Emery is a very good. I think pick for them.
So now we move on to tennis. And we have the 2018 French Open. It started on May the 21st and will be going on to June 10th.
So just a bit of history to explain to our guys. It's one of the 4 Grand Slams that happens in a year in tennis. It's the second one. The first one is normally the Australian Open, and the French Open, and the US Open. No, then Wimbledon, then the US Open. It's the only one that's played on clay, and that's what makes it very unique. It's played at a Stade Roland Garros. That's why it's called the Roland Garros. It's named after a French aviator. So for the men, who's looking likely, of course, King of Clay, Rafael Nadal. He's the one who's looking to maintain, to retain, the title. But it will be coming up against stiff competition from Marin Cilic, and Novak Djokovic, who unfortunately has dropped, I think, to rank number 22. But that was primarily because of an injury he suffered. So that's for the men. For the women, we have 23 Grand Slam winner. 23 Grand Slam winner, Serena Williams. She's the biggest attraction. Though I don't think she has a shot at winning it, but she's definitely going to be the biggest attraction there. The biggest women to watch out for, I think, is Simona Halep, Caroline Wozniacki, who's won the Australian Open, and Gabriela Muguruza. So those are the guys who I would be watching out for in the men and the women.
All right. So now we move on to basketball, and we've got the 2018 conference finals.
Which are happening as we speak. So as we speak in the Eastern Conference, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the series is tied at 3-3, with the series heading back to Boston for the last game, for Game 7. And while everyone is focusing on LeBron James, I choose not to focus on him and focus on Brad Stevens. He's the person who's coaching at the Boston Celtics. And by NBA standards, he's not really a big name. But to be able to first push LeBron James and his Cavs to 7 games in the Eastern Conference Finals without his 2 superstars, without Kyrie Irving, without Gordon Hayward, is just admirable. And that's the stuff, at least for me, that's the stuff that what makes sports for me. That's a small time story. Brad Stevens comes, he has a Celtics team, his 2 stars. Gordon Hayward gets injured at the beginning of the season. Kyrie Irving gets injured just before they go into the playoffs, and he's still able to grind out the results that he's done and got into the final and pushed LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers to 7 games. I actually want to say this, and I'll be on record, that I think Celtics are going to win Game 7. It's going to be at home, and therefore they're going to go to the finals. When you go to the East, or to the West, sorry, I beg your pardon, the series is also tied at 3-3, Golden State Warriors versus the Houston Rockets. The series now heads back to the Toyota Center for Game 7 by the virtue of the fact that the Rockets are the top seed. What do I think about that? I think Golden State need to divert their attention from Kevin Durant and Steph Curry. And how do they do that, in my opinion? Involve Klay Thompson. a bit more in the plays that are happening. The reason I say this is because Klay Thompson is an excellent perimeter shooter. We know he can shoot free throws, and what for me I think is the biggest thing is that he's an excellent defender. Now when you involve Klay Thompson in many more plays than you have him already taking part in, what does that do? Fine, Chris Paul is injured first, let's start there. So there's a lot of load on James Harden defensively. He's not the best defensive player, so he's going to be having problems. Then you have Draymond Green, who comes there with his emotion and his energy. If Klay is getting a lot into the plays, then I think you'll be able to see a very complete performance by Golden State Warriors. How do I think it's going to end up? I think Golden State Warriors are going to win this. And my prediction, of course, is the finals between GSW and the Boston Celtics.
All right.
Yeah.
So now we move into the bonus segment.
Yes.
Just before we wrap it up.
Yeah.
And we're talking about university teams and more specifically USIU.
Yeah.
And more specifically rugby.
Yeah.
So USIU is famous for taking their rugby on a yearly tour to France. And I mean, the question is, are there any other teams that do this? And what do we feel about such tours and what they do in terms of psych for the teams and for the players?
Yeah. So I'm yet to hear, and having done a bit of research, I'm yet to hear of any team that does what USIU does. Outside, let me put it this way, outside East Africa. Yeah. I'm yet to hear any team that does that. The way I look at it, these tours go a long way into the player psyche. And by that, what do I mean? The first thing is, like, for example, the USIU rugby team gets a chance to tour France. France is more developed than we are in rugby. You get to exposed to the nitty-gritties of the game, and Western countries break down the game to the T. So you're exposed to these technical things that you are unable to learn. And I remember when we were watching the Elgon Cup game, I sat with a gentleman and he was talking about the reason why Philip Okarach is because he started playing rugby when he was 6, 7, 8 years.
Yes, yeah.
And that's the generation that we're starting to see in East African rugby now. Can you imagine if these guys, you're exposed there? First, in France, you're exposed to the game at a very young age. Yeah. So can you imagine then getting a chance to train with these guys and
interact with them?
Then you understand the nitty-gritties of the game. You understand where the game has come from, and you understand the game from a more technical standpoint. And this is not only in rugby, in everything. That's the first thing. Second thing, and perhaps to me what's the most important thing, is the level of exposure these trips give the players. I think about that Kenya Simba's team that played today in Uganda, that's going to be playing all over. How many of those guys would have gotten a chance to go to Hong Kong? How many of those guys would have gotten a chance to go to Namibia in their lives? Those trips do open up your way of thinking, exposes you to other ways of life, and these are valuable lessons that are going to help you when you grow up in life. So what does this trip to USIU do? The USIU guys who make the rugby trip, there are very many guys on that team who never afforded to travel. Most of them, I am sure, got a passport just because of this trip. So when they are able to go for these trips, then they're able to get exposed to exactly what's happening in France. So these foreign countries, it does help their psyche. It does help them gain invaluable lessons that really help them in future in their lives.
And just to add before we finish, I'd say that it exposes you to a sort of different platform that you're playing on. The pressure, it's a high pressure situation. You're not at home, you're somewhere else, you've got all these people watching you. Should you now go on to make the national team, you've done it before.
True.
It's not like a first time thing.
That's true.
So I definitely commend USIU and anyone else who is doing this. But that's all we have time for today.
That's true.
So guys, remember, you can like our page on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Jimmy Medafia.
And I'm Nora Kumuya.
It's a wrap.
Yeah, so stay tuned for episode 74. That's going to be back in Nairobi.